And I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Goose County. America and beyond. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. My guest hasn't arrived yet. It's not like the old days when I did the radio show. We had a studio and people could come down to the studio, and usually you would have them arrive 10, 15 minutes early. You do the mic check. You would have them, sit back and they usually would want to know what type of questions you were going to ask. And I would always give them the same line. Well, nothing that I wouldn't ask if I didn't see you anywhere else. Don't stress it. It's not going to be too bad. It's going to be fairly painless. And because I don't want to give whoever I'm talking to notice of what I'm going to ask. And a lot of times I don't always know what I'm going to ask a candidate, because you ask them a question and they give you an answer. Usually I have 2 or 3 follow-up questions. So I don't always know what I'm going to ask. And sometimes I don't know where the conversation is going to lead. So I never give people the questions in advance. I don't do that. I've never done it for anyone else. And a good portion of the politicians, the candidates, will ask me, hey, can I get a copy of the questions? And I'll look them straight up and go, I don't make copies of the questions. I will have some questions, and I just need you to answer them when I ask them, because I shouldn't have to give you a preview of the questions. You should already know the different issues that I'm inevitably going to ask you on or ask you about, and therefore you shouldn't be wanting me to give you the questions. The only reason that candidates do that is they want to prepare for the best answer, and that's exactly why I do a live show. I can't edit this up to make it all look nice and polish if it's a live show. I can't change people's answers if it's a live show. If 60 Minutes was to run that interview they did with Kamala Harris, where they changed the answers after they recorded the show, then they wouldn't have been able to do that if they would have been live. If 60 Minutes would have been live, they wouldn't have been able to edit those answers. And they did edit those answers. The videos are all over social media. And we saw Kamala Harris ask the question, and she answered both of those questions. And they changed the answer. They changed it so that she looked like she gave a coherent, cohesive answer, and she didn't. She was all over the place. So I always try to make sure, that I don't give those questions out, and that's why, because I like the spontaneity of live broadcast. That's why I did a live radio show. Most people in radio today, a lot of them, they don't want to do live shows. They want to do this recorded stuff. And podcasts especially. I notice these young people, especially the storytellers. I don't know if you watch podcasts and you'll see the guys who tell stories. They always are edited. And when you see their show, it's pre-recorded. And that's to make them look as intelligent as possible. Well, I don't want to polish it up for the audience. I want them to see the live, raw footage, and I want you to see all my foibles. I've got a lot of them, but more importantly, the candidates have these same well, imperfections, and you won't catch those imperfections if it's cut out in editing. So that's why I always like to do a live program. And my candidate still hasn't joined me. His name is Daniel Bahlen. Daniel is running for the fourth district. He's running against Monique DeSpain. He's running against Vale Hoyle, and there's Filip, the Green Party candidate. Now, I had sent an email to all the candidates except for Filip. There's a lot of time that's taken up by these candidate interviews. So I didn't send one to the Green Party because, well, I know he's not going to win. And the Green Party really, I know their stance on pretty much everything. I wouldn't vote for him anyway. And if I have time, I'd rather dedicate it to other people that I think have the potential to win. And in some cases, I will do that. In most cases, if there's a category in the election, I will have all the candidates on. And I've done that before where I've had up to 4 or 5 people from the same race on the show. I can't remember a time when I did it on the podcast, but I used to do it on the radio all the time. So I sent an email out. I sent one to the Vale Hoyle campaign, and I sent one to the DeSpain campaign. And of course, I sent one to Bahlen because he's a libertarian. And as a former libertarian, I was kind of curious if he was actually serious about this race. And so DeSpain never got back to me. And neither did Vale Hoyle. And I'm not surprised because the Democrats never want to go on the show. They never did when I had a radio show because of the fact they know I'm going to ask them pretty hard damn questions. I'm going to ask them things, and when I don't get a proper answer, I'm going to follow it up. The Republicans now are a little leery of me as well. I used to always get the Republican candidates, but after what happened back last November, and other times when I've had to be a little forceful with Republican candidates or Republican representatives and hold their feet to the fire, well, now the Republican candidates are a little leery of me as well, unless they're really good candidates. I've noticed the candidates that are good candidates, they're not afraid at all to come on the show. And it's usually because they know whatever I ask them, they're going to have a good answer. They're going to have a good explanation. And they know that most of the people in the audience and I as well will like their answer. So good politicians usually have no problem coming on the show. Bad politicians, and I do put Monique DeSpain in the bad politics. She might be a really good person. She seems like a really good person. She's a lousy candidate. She's a very lousy candidate. And part of that is we had her at the meeting in Citizens Restoring Liberty, and there was a big hubbub that I kind of started about her not wanting to be filmed during the meeting. We normally film during the Citizens Restoring Liberty meeting, and they were asked by the Monique DeSpain campaign not to film her speaking. And they came up to me individually and asked me if I planned on filming her, and I wasn't. And the reason they did that is because I filmed the candidate who spoke before her, and I filmed him with his camera. It was for him. And I don't normally film these people unless, it's something that I think it's going to be interesting, or something they're going to say is going to be a gotcha moment. And when I got there, I also thought that Citizens Restoring Liberty would film them, because they film all the candidates. They filmed their whole entire meeting. And if they don't, they usually specify that before the meeting. They didn't do this, and Monique DeSpain asked them to turn off their cameras. And I made a big hubbub about this, because why the hell would a candidate not want to be filmed as she's speaking to a conservative Christian constitutionalist group? Why would a candidate be worried about that if she's one of the good candidates who doesn't have to have the answers in advance, because she already has the answers in her head? She already knows the issues, and she has an explanation for all of her answers. Well, of course, we know, you know the answer. They wouldn't want to be recorded because they don't want anyone to catch them in a screw up and put that on a video out there. And I'll do that when I catch people screw up, especially candidates. I will put that video out in the public and, damn the results. That's what people need to do. We need to expose, no matter whether they're Republican, Democrat, or whomever they might be, we need to expose these people. And the more they don't want to be exposed, the more I want to videotape them and find out what the problem is, because it's just weird that someone would want that silence. So it kind of ticked me off that Monique DeSpain didn't want to come on this show, because I think it's part and parcel of the treatment some Republicans have received in the past. I'm not here to be backup for the Republicans. I'm not here to be the backup for the Democrats either. And the Democrats at least know this. The Republicans, I guess they thought I was going to carry their water for them, but no, if they screw up, I was going to show everyone as well. So that's why a lot of the candidates, and I've sent invitations to a lot of them. I sent it to the DeReamer camp, and even good Republicans that I like didn't get back to me. Dennis Lithicum originally got back to me when I had sent him a request to come on the show, but he eventually stopped returning my emails. And I think it was because he was getting whispers in the ear that, oh, you got to beware of Rob Taylor. He's, he hates Republicans now, which is not true. I hate lies and I love the truth, and that has not changed. And of course, I don't think it's because Dennis Lithicum is a bad person. I think he's just getting bad advice. Will Lathrop was another one that I'd sent him and the person he's running against. I sent them invitations to come on this show. Silence, crickets, nothing. And so, if I hear them ever complain because they couldn't get their voice out, then I'm going to flip a lid. I'm going to tell them, are you kidding me? We had a program where you were invited to be on this program, and we have usually anywhere between 150 to 200. Sometimes it can be as high as 1,000 people who watch these podcasts. And they're all, probably the majority of them, are going to be from Oregon and in the districts that you are running in. So it really ticks me off when you see these Republicans or any candidate complaining that they don't get time, when I know damn well as a podcaster, I've offered them a lot of time. I mean, this is a free for all. We could, unlike the radio where I had to take hard breaks for the commercials and the sponsors, and then at the bottom of the hour and the top of the hour, I had to that was the hard break for the news. And we always had to take those no matter what. And then there was a time limit on the show. That doesn't exist in podcast. I can go for 40 minutes. I can go for 4 hours, whatever you got. If you can do it, you can produce it, you can pay for it, then go for it. So I've sent invitations to many different Republicans and asked them to be on this show. And I think this year, the reason I'm not getting much of a response from them or the Democrats is because now I've been kind of blacklisted. And that's okay, because eventually they will realize that if they want to win, they're going to have to come to the people who watch this show. I think you're important. And I think you're important because even if there's only, let's say, 100 views of this video, just let's say if there's only 50 views, if those 50 people go out and tell at least another 5 people that they like the candidate that they saw on my show, that's going to be quite resounding in an election for a district that you only need a very low percentage to win that election. So I would say to you, it benefits candidates to come on shows like this, because even if they don't like me or the questions I'm going to ask, they're still being exposed to people who may not have a chance to ever get to see them. And I know that people don't get to see these candidates, because every election year on election day or a week before, maybe a couple of weeks before, and it hasn't started yet, but I know I'm going to start getting calls from friends of mine who are going to say, Rob, I'm getting ready to fill out my ballot. I got my voter's pamphlet. And I don't know, all these sons of bitches, they all lie. And I just want to know, who should I vote for? Who are you voting for? Or why? And I will have to go through the voter's pamphlet with this whoever, and because they don't know the candidates. And that's why I specifically go out and intentionally try to get candidates to go on his show. And it's amazing how some candidates who will complain after the election that they couldn't get their word out, they couldn't get known, didn't respond to my invitation to be on the show. And I don't send just one email. I usually send one email and then I'll send a follow-up email. And after the second follow-up email, you're still ignoring me? Well, I'm probably not going to send you any more emails until you get back to me. So not my fault. Not my fault that certain candidates don't want to be on the show. I don't know why Daniel Bahlen isn't on right now. He was supposed to be on, and I really hope that something, well, I don't hope something bad happened, but I hope he has a good excuse for not being on here, because I wanted to talk to the Libertarian candidate because, like I said, I wasn't happy with Monique DeSpain, and I still haven't decided who I'm going to vote for because I don't know who this Daniel Bahlen is. And now he's a guy who's late for my show and hasn't shown up. I'm not sure what he expects from the people who are watching right now. So if you're living in Congressional District 4, that's U.S. Congressional District 4, Vale Hoyle is the current representative there, and you are wondering who to vote for, well, I can't tell you at this point. I'm still, wanted to find out more about this Daniel guy, and I was hoping he was going to be on so we can pin him down on different issues. And if he was as good as Sonia, Finetech? Yes, Sonia Finetech. If he would have been as good and presented himself as well as she did when she was on here, he would have got my support wholeheartedly. I would have endorsed him, and I actually have a chance to vote for him. And he's not in the voters pamphlet. So he's not in the voters pamphlet, and he's decided not to show up. I don't know what the reason is, but that's the type of thing that really irks me about some of these candidates. If they're, I'm not that cruel of a person. And yes, I'm going to ask you some pretty tough questions, but there's nothing here that I'm going to ask that you shouldn't be answering as a candidate anyway. I'm going to ask him about the debt and the deficit, taxing in Oregon. I was going to ask him about housing in Oregon. I was going to ask him about the crime issue, the lawlessness that's taking place. I would have loved to ask him about diversity, equity, and inclusion and critical race theory. He's in, from what I understand, and I didn't get it from his statement of organization. I think he's a student of psychiatry or psychology, or he's actually a psychologist or psychiatrist. I didn't quite get that. And so I was going to ask him if he was here. I don't even get that information now. So this really sucks, and it really ticks me off when candidates do that to me. And it's not a big deal normally, because every show that I have a guest on, I always plan 2 shows, because I know guests, a lot of times they will bail out, and because one reason or another, or maybe it's just technical reasons, I don't know, and they'll bail out and I'll have to do the show. So I was already prepared for this, but I really had high hopes for this Daniel guy because I wanted to speak to him. I had a lot of questions for him. So the only other race that, or other people that I may have on here is Drew Farmer, who's running for county commissioner. I don't support Drew Farmer. I'm going to vote for Bob Main, but I'm also a little upset with Bob Main and disappointed with Bob Main because he doesn't want to come on the show as well. And I think he should. And I think the reason he doesn't is because he knows that I will ask him the hard questions as well. And he's not going to have really good answers because I know the answers that he has given at the commissioners meeting, and he knows how I work. I'm going to have follow-up questions that are going to be tougher than the original questions that I ask him. So Bob Main doesn't really want to come on this show because we've had our differences. But I will be voting for Bob Main. I have been inviting him to our events that we've been having as far as the wind turbine rallies and the Trump trains. We've been making sure that Bob has known all about it so he can get, the word out there. And I've even put up a couple of Bob Main signs in different locations around Bandon and between here and Coos Bay. I've put up a few of those Bob Main signs. I helped him out a little bit. I'm not happy with Bob Main. I'm not happy with the situation of having to choose between him or Drew Farmer. And there have been the last election that he was in when he ran against Katie Eyman. I think I even sat out on that election. I wrote in none of the above. I wasn't happy with either Bob or Katie Eyman. And so this time I realized that Drew Farmer is younger than Katie Eyman. And unlike Katie Eyman, Drew Farmer has political intentions, and he's a politician in the making, a career politician in the making. He's already had a pretty good career on the city council and all the committees he has been on. So I'm still debating what I was going to do, but I know Bob doesn't want to come on the show. And if he doesn't want to come on the show, well, he's got to take the criticism, and he's going to get criticized. And even being criticized, even knowing all the arguments why someone shouldn't support somebody who won't come on a podcast and basically lay out his campaign. I know all your arguments, and I agree with you. It's to the point where if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to talk to the people and answer the questions of the people or answer questions at all, why the hell should I support you? Why should I vote for you? And that's something I will be asking Bob, because it really ticks me off. So I'm going to have Drew Farmer on here, but I like to be up front before I have people on. And Drew, I think, has shown interest in being on the podcast. And I think it's because he wants to talk to an audience that he normally wouldn't get a chance to talk with, because most of the people who watch this show are libertarians, conservatives, constitutionalists, people who like Trump, people who like their freedom. You know, God forbid we like our freedom. And so I know Drew would love the chance to come on here and pretend like he's a moderate, and that, he wants to get your vote so that he can continue his political career with another stepping stone being the Coos County Commission. I mean, if he becomes a commissioner, he'll probably be there for one term, and I would be willing to bet you will see him move on to the next incremental position. In politics, they should call it excremental position, but it's the incremental position, the next higher up position, which will be a House of Representatives or for the Senate position. And you'll probably see that if he wins this commissioner's race, he'll be able to do that. And I don't begrudge him that. I don't get mad at him because he has political endeavors. That's great. I wish more young people had political endeavors. I just wish it was more young people who believed or had the same beliefs that I did. That's the difference. And so Drew Farmer, to me, is much worse than Katie Eyman was for years when she ran against Bob Main. So I'm going to be voting for Drew Farmer because, I'm going to be voting for Bob Main because I think Drew Farmer is a much greater threat. He's young, he's ambitious, and he wants to make a name, and he knows he has the support of all the radical leftists in Coos County. The leftists love Drew. He's he always talks, and he hasn't talked about it lately, his sexuality. He has a sexual orientation that's not heterosexual, so it gets a mark for his name because he's got a special protection because of his sexual orientation. And of course, they love it because he's young and he's white, and they can use that as a way to see, more young white people should vote for women. You know what I mean? That's the thing they're telling Barack Obama and Sam Elliott. They're telling people, yeah, you need to vote for Kamala Harris. Only real men vote for women, which is nonsense. I don't vote for anyone because of their sex, their sexuality, their religious orientation, their ethnicity. I don't vote for anyone unless they're actually good for the job. Clarence Thomas is one of the greatest Supreme Court justices who's ever served. And he was truly born a poor black man in this country. And he actually faced adversity growing up. And people on the left should maybe read more about Clarence Thomas's life when he started out life. It's a pretty sad story. And he's gone all the way from being in a very poor, rundown, impoverished area, impoverished family, and grew up to be one of the best Supreme Court justices out there. And he did it even though there were all these disadvantages against him. And so that's why I have to say that I wish that more young people would run, because I just wish they had my beliefs. But I'm not afraid to have them on the show if they do have different beliefs than I do, and they want to continue in office. Let's see. I got a comment here. After listening to what FEMA said about putting the queers first, I understand Drew's advantages. And that's what I'm talking about, Oregon Outlaw. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They put people into groups, and those groups are what type of sexuality you practice, what type of sex you are. A woman can be pretty much anybody who claims to be a woman, and a woman is a woman, of course. And of course, because she's a woman, she's put in a special category as well. And Drew Farmer, because he's bisexual, and that gives him the ability to check off a box to say, oh, I'm one of the oppressed classes, which is BS. Okay. I don't care what anyone says. And I gave the example of Justice Clarence Thomas. He was born a poor black child, and he grew up to be a Supreme Court justice. If you've seen the life he lived, it's look at Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell grew up to be an incredible economist. I was trying to think of the other black gentleman on the news that grew. He grew out of poverty to become one of the greatest black representatives on the news. And I can't think of his name now. He's on Greg Gutfeld once in a while. But I could sit here all day giving you examples of people who've overcome adversity and they've met those challenges without any special gratifications, without any special credentialing, without any special privileges. And they overcame the odds, and they became good people. So no, not Mark Robinson. Let's see. I got a request here from Allen Drone Services. Hi, Rob. Can you please talk about the 5 Oregon measures? Yeah, if you could, if you got the time. Alien Drone Services. Did I just call you Allen Drone Services? No, I'm sorry. I apologize. Alien Drone Services. Those comments are a little small in that box. Yeah, I could talk about the measures. I usually do what I call a review, a pamphlet review, a ballot review, where I go over the ballot. But it's pretty easy here. Let's see. Measure 115 is in page 55. Well, of course, 55. Boy, there are a lot. This thing is the pamphlet, this year's pamphlet. It's like the size of a Sears catalog. I don't know. It's but this amendment, this is Measure 115 here in Oregon. And if you're living in Oregon, you're going to get the pleasure of voting on this. And it amends the Constitution, authorizes impeachment of statewide elected officials by Oregon legislature with 2/3 vote by each house, establishes process. And I'm sick of hearing about the impeachment. We already got recall in the state of Oregon, and that one would be a hard no on me. No, that would be a total hard no. I don't want the only reason they want this impeachment power is because the Democrats have control of the governor's office, both houses, the judicial system, and they want this impeachment power so they can get rid of any Republican who speaks out. So no, I would be opposed to Measure 115. Anything that amends the Constitution, it has to be pretty damn good for me to vote for it. I get tired of amending the Constitution. I don't know if you've seen the Oregon Constitution. It's almost the size of this pamphlet. I mean, it's huge. The Oregon Constitution, it just keeps growing every year. And so this would be a hard no. And I know a lot of Republicans are going, but Rob, if we had this authority, we could, go after a bunch of Democrats. Yeah, where? What planet? What planet are you living on? I'm living on planet Oregon. And in planet Oregon, we are ruled by one party, and that one party is the Democrats. And so, no, I wouldn't want to give them any more authority than what they already have. So I would be a hard no on Measure 115. Measure 116. Let's go see what we got here. I've only read through these just briefly. So yeah, I don't count this as my ballot review, but what the hell? What the hell? I will just see. Let's see. Oregon outlaw. As the Oregon Constitution grows, we lose liberties instead of gain. Yeah, every damn time. Every single time they change or amend the Constitution, we lose more liberty. So I would think we would learn by not amending these amendments to the Constitution when these measures are on the ballot. But the problem is that because the Democrats control the state, the reason they control the state is because they've got more people voting for them, and there are more Democrats than there are Republicans in the state. Multnomah County, Salem, Eugene. I mean, they just the overwhelming amount of population they have can really just completely upset anything we want to do at any point in time. So they're probably going to vote for Measure 115. And you know why? Because they want the authority to impeach a bunch of Republicans. And someone here who was ticked off when all the Republicans stabbed Mike Neerman in the back. He was the only one who was ever kicked out of the Oregon House of Representatives. He was kicked out, and none of the Republicans stood up and defended him, and including David Brock Smith. What a piece of garbage. And it just ticks me off that these people didn't have the balls to stand up for a fellow Republican who did the right thing. He just, it just looks bad because it is something that can be interpreted as violating the law. Oh, he opened a door to a public building and let people in. Okay, so he violated the governor's mandate. I don't give a damn. The mandates don't have no authority. There is nothing in the Constitution that says this Constitution is inactive anytime the governor creates a fake emergency or any emergency. And so we got screwed because they took one of the best representatives that we had, Mike Neerman, and they kicked him out of the House. And screw many of you Republicans who didn't have the balls to stand up and defend him. And that's one reason I'm voting against Measure 115. Measure 115 is the reason that Democrats will vote for it. It probably will pass. I'm willing to bet, if I had to bet on it, Measure 115 will pass. I'm still voting against it. Measure 116 amends the Constitution, establishes independent public service compensation commission to determine salaries for specified officials, eliminates legislative authority to set such salaries. And once again, no. I know I've got Republican friends and other people I know who'll say, but don't you want someone other than the representatives themselves being able to decide what their salary is going to be? And my answer is a hard no. And you know why that is? The reason legislators and city councilors and commissioners, the reason they like creating these committees for the county commission, the council, or for the legislature is it allows them to acquiesce their authority. And it's an illusion. They say they acquiesce their authority to this council. And because they want to have more people give input on whatever subject they're talking about, they acquiesce their authority to this council or this committee. In this case, it would be the Service Compensation Committee, the Public Service Compensation Commission. And so it's going to be a commission. It is a committee. And so they want to acquiesce their authority to raising their salaries so that they can get higher salaries. And it's not to stop them from getting higher salaries. Measure 116 is designed to create a commission that is appointed by the Democrats who want to increase their salary, but can't increase their salary because they know you, the voters, will see them increasing their own salary. And they know that's going to tick you off when all of you are losing in the game of inflation right now. You got to pay $6 for a carton of eggs, and you're paying more and more for food, for heating, for housing, for all of the above, and yet you're not getting any more as far as the salary. In fact, many of us are getting less. And so they don't want to have the ability, or they want to acquiesce their responsibility to raise their own salary, because if they raise their own salary, they're afraid they would get a voter backlash. So what they do is they create this bullshit commission called the Independent Public Service Compensation Commission. Just the name in itself is a pompous ass name, okay? The Independent Public Service Compensation Commission. We're the Compensation Commission. We're going to give you compensation because we've got a commission. And so they want them to be able to determine the salaries for the legislators who are able to determine it for themselves as it is, which, I don't care if you should have that responsibility. You should have the responsibility of this. So I'm a hard no on Measure 116. And I'll tell you another reason why this pisses me off. You don't think that that's a true story? Our commissioners, two of our commissioners voted to cut their salaries to $30,000 a year. I believe it's like $68,000 to $72,000 that the commissioners get here in Coos County. And they decided to cut their salary to $30,000. And everyone said, oh, this is great. This is so wonderful. Yeah, it was wonderful. It sounded good, except that the budget committee has to vote on any decrease of salary or any salary change at all. And of course, the budget committee, voted not to give them or not allow them to vote for a decrease in their salary to $30,000. And of course, it's a 7-man board, and the only two people who voted to get their salary cut or have the commissioners cut their salary were the two commissioners who have voted for it originally. And the reason they voted for it is because they knew that the commission, all 5 of them, were going to vote against them, making it look like the decision was out of their hands. And so the commissioners come back to the regular meeting, and they go, see, we tried to cut our salaries. We tried to cut it to $30,000, but a committee that we the commissioners have created, this committee has overridden our vote and decided not to allow us to cut our salary. Yeah, they could follow what the committee recommends, because all committees that are created are under the authority of the board that creates them. Well, who created the budget committee for the county? The county commissioners. So if the county commissioners truly wanted to cut their salary, they would just override. They would put something on the agenda to override the committee's vote and say that they want to cut their salaries anyway. But they didn't, and you know why? Because the story goes out that, oh, look, Bob Main and Rod Taylor tried to cut their salaries, but they couldn't because the budget committee wouldn't allow them. Well, I got news for you. They can override that committee. And it's probably the same here. I haven't read this law, but it's probably the same here for this compensation commission. We've got the compensation commission, the Independent Public Service Compensation Commission. And of course, you already know it's a lie because they call it the Independent Public Service. Well, who appoints the people to this commission? Well, it's another Democrat. It's either the governor or the legislators themselves. If they get to appoint the committee, they're appointing the people who are going to give them the raises. And they acquiesce their authority to give themselves raises because they don't want to give themselves raises because they don't want to look bad in the eye of the people who they want votes from. They want your vote. So they want you to think like they want to live in poverty. We're only going to get, and I think the House of Representatives, I think they only get like $27,000 a year, and our senators get $35,000. That's nothing. Okay, you can't. Only senior citizens who are living on Social Security are expected to live on that kind of low of wage. No, not our legislators. For some reason, people get mad because they don't get a lot of money, and of course, they don't want to vote themselves a raise because then the voters get mad at them because they're raising your salary. So no on Measure 116. It's just another way for them to acquiesce their authority, and I'm calling bullshit on that. Let's see, what is Measure 17? Let's see, I've gone through 2 measures, already said no, and I'm up to the 3rd measure, Measure 117. It says gives voters option to rank candidates in order of preference. Candidate receiving majority of votes in final round wins. This is another bullshit scam. Why can't I just vote for the guy that I want to win or the person that I want to win, and whoever gets the highest total wins? They don't give the argument what's wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So no, we got to create this option where where you vote for two different candidates. And if one of them don't get enough to go on, you get your second choice. And then your second, blah, blah, blah. Do you think people are going to understand ranked choice voting? I think this is a form of voter suppression. This is voter suppression, folks. Measure 117 is just another way that they're trying to get people not to vote. And I can tell you right now, who's going to be most confused about ranked choice voting? More than likely, elderly people who have been voting the same way all of their lives, winner takes all. This is who I'm voting for. I don't want any ranked choice bullshit voting. I just want to vote for one candidate, and I want to go with that candidate. Nope, now we got ranked choice voting. Who do you think is going to be most confused is the elderly? Who do you think, which demographics do you think the elderly belong to? The Republicans or the Democrats? I would be willing to say, and I would have to do some investigation on this, that the people over 60, and this is almost me, I'm almost 60, but people over 60, people who are older than me, most of those people, the majority of them are probably, more of them are Republicans than people who are 60 and under, especially 40 and under. So who's going to be most confused is the elderly because, well, ranked choice voting is just a confusing way of voting. So this is voter suppression. It's voter suppression against all of the Republicans once again. And of course, they're going to say, oh no, this is just a better way to give, people who wouldn't normally win, give them a chance to win. Well, they have a chance to win. They just got to get the majority of votes. And this ranked choice voting, even I have a little bit of problem with this. This is so convoluted. I may not want to vote anymore because if you make it too damn complicated, why even bother? Just let me pick the guy I want to win or the person I want to win, and we'll go from there. So another no on measure 117. So that's no for three of them. Measure 115, measure 116, and 117, no. Okay, so let's see where we're at now. Oh, look, there's a lot of arguments in favor, arguments against. Boy, it's wow. This is like 20 pages of arguments for this measure 117. Okay, I think I got it here. I think I got it. Measure 118. Oh, one more page. Here we go. Measure 118. Okay, so all the three first ones that I looked at, all of them are no. Measure 115, measure 116, 117, no. Hell no. Okay, measure 118 says increases highest corporate minimum taxes, distributes revenue to eligible individuals, state replaces reduced federal benefits. Okay. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a corporation. I don't care if you're an individual. I don't care if you're one of the people who receives money from the government. We're all over freaking taxed. I'm not voting for any tax. And this tax is nothing but redistribution of wealth. They take money from the people who produce it and they give it to the bums and derelicts of society. And they spread it out to create differences, to create an adversarial position between those who make the money and people who don't make the money, because corporations, they say they talk about corporations like it's like people aren't involved. Okay. Corporations are people. If you're in business, you own a corporation. I've got a corporation. My family, we've got corporations. Most of my friends, they have corporations because they own businesses and they've got to get those LLC, limited liability corporations. And to act like these entities aren't paying their fair share, bullshit. We're all paying too much. And the people who produce are paying way too much. We're giving way too much away to the derelicts of society, to the people who are the users and the takers of society. We're giving them way too much. And I'm not talking about orphan children and not giving them food, only giving them one scoop of gruel. That's not what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. The drug-addled piece of garbage that's right now probably standing up at the Ray's shopping center, right at the end of my street. You know, the couple of guys who stand on the corner and they've got their signs. One of them claims to be a vet. I don't think he's really a vet. And I certainly don't think he was a doctor who used to work on animals either. And then you got another guy who needs food. He needs something for this, that, and the other thing. And they're standing up there and they already get food cards. They already get all kinds of privileges from the county because the county gives them money. The city gives them money. Charities gives them food. These people are the derelicts of America, are the most well taken care of people in the world. I mean, they don't have to have any responsibility. They can sleep all day, do drugs all night, and they'll stand out there on Ray's. I know I haven't even been up to Ray's today, but I'm willing to bet if I walk up to Ray's, which is right at the end of my street here, I would see the bums. If they weren't out front asking for money, they were in back digging through the trash. And I videotaped this. You can't say I'm lying because I videotaped this and have played this on my podcast. So I'm tired of taxes. What do we get for taxes? Anyone out there? What do we get for taxes? Another DEI officer who's going to tell me who I can and cannot hire? Another bureaucrat regulator who's going to tell me what I can and can't do in my business when I've been doing it all along with no problems? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Get the hell out of my business. Get the hell out of my bedroom, out of my house. Leave me the freak alone and stop taxing me. We pay way too much. Let's talk about cutting government. I wish Measure 118 would have talked about cutting government so that corporations can live a little bit friendlier lives in the free market. No, of course, this is another tax. And this is the worst kind of tax. A vote yes. Vote yes would increase corporate minimum tax on Oregon sales exceeding 25 million, eliminates tax cap, distributes revenue to eligible individuals. State replaces any reduced federal benefits. I love this. Distributes revenue to eligible individuals. You mean like the illegal pieces of garbage who are invading our country right now? Are we talking, are those people eligible individuals? Are you talking about the druggies and the criminals on the street who are shooting up drugs and causing all kinds of problem in my cities and in my county? No, no more. So, okay. Measure 115, no. Measure 116, no. Measure 117, no. Measure 118, hell no. Hell no to the taxes. Wow, that was easy. And boy, it's getting much thinner. The voters pamphlet is getting much, much thinner here. Measure 118. What a waste of time. Look at all this. Once again, 10 pages of arguments here. I mean, just screw this. This isn't I don't even know why anyone needs to argue. Are you tired of paying money? I know I'm tired of paying money to a bunch of cockroaches sit up in their fat cat bureaucrat agencies telling us how to live our life. I'm done with it. Measure 119. Cannabis retailers, processors must remain neutral regarding communications to their employees from labor organization penalties. So basically what they're saying is that we don't think that cannabis retailers, people who own cannabis retailers or the processors, wherever they grow it, wherever they procure it, wherever the wholesale is, wherever the dispensary is to the POS, the point of sale, not piece of shit, point of sale, to wherever this is, they want the owners of the dispensary, the owners who are in the processing, the business of processing marijuana, they want them to have basically no ability to speak out against their employees unionizing. Well, this is a bunch of crap. It says a yes vote requires cannabis retailers, processors to agree to remain neutral when labor organizations communicate with employees about collective bargaining rights, licensure, certification, penalties possible. Wow. It even puts penalties on it for practicing your First Amendment right. No, this Measure 119, if the, maybe we could talk to some of that Lamota. Yeah, maybe I should get some of that Lamota money, hire me an attorney and freaking sue the heck out of these people, because that's what Lamota should be doing. Stop giving all of your money to the politicians. I know you're buying favor, but stop that because the politicians are screwing you in this deal. I'm willing to bet if you talk to the owners of LaModa, I'm willing to bet they're probably against having their First Amendment rights shut off, and especially their right to be able to say, we don't want our employees to unionize. This is really bad. I've got a friend. In fact, my show is sponsored by the Herbal Choices, and I'm willing to bet my friend is completely opposed to that. In fact, I know he is. I talked to him not too long ago. A friend of mine who owns Herbal Choices, and yeah, Measure 119 is bad. If you want to unionize, and I'm not against private unions, meaning private unions for people who work for businesses in the private market. If you want to unionize, I have no problem with that. I don't like unions. I think they're, with today's, the way that employees are so protected from everything, they're so sheltered. I mean, employees, I'm surprised some bureaucracy doesn't require the employees to arrive and work in bubble wrap, because we have to be so delicate with you fragile employees. We don't want to have, any bad words or anything that's insensitive said. No, we don't want any off-color remarks. No, no, the employees are sensitive. They're sensitive little creatures. They're delicate. They're like little flowers. American employees are the most delicate creature on the planet. No, you can't ask them for overtime. No, you can't ask them to work through their lunch. No. I just get so ticked off. I don't want to see employees abused. That's wrong. But the way we treat employees today in my opinion, in my perception, and I could be wrong, and I'm willing to argue this, employees are the most protected class of people in the freaking world. I mean, if you get fired now, you can go down and get unemployment for getting fired. I mean, that used to be for people who got laid off. If you got laid off, oh no, you need unemployment because you got laid off suddenly due to faults beyond your circumstances. Yeah, I'm against that as well, but I'm also against giving people unemployment benefits when they get fired, because the employer has to pay half that. So this right here, Measure 119, I'm a hard no on that. So it's a hard no. Measure 115, 116, 117, 118, and now 119. No, this is easy. Wow, this is really easy. I wish I had more representatives representing me who knew how to say no. I mean, you got people like David Brock Smith and Court Boyce. Hey guys, you want to take a little money from the wind turbine companies? Yes, we want that money. You want to take money from millionaire Democrats from San Francisco? Yeah, we want to take that money. Yeah, you want to vote to put tampons in a boy's bathroom? Yeah, we want to do that. No. Can't. What the hell is wrong with our politics? It's a simple job. No, you can't do that. It's a really simple job when you're a business owner. And I know a lot of business owners who make less than their employees because their business just doesn't make enough profits to give them a huge salary. So they make less than their employees. I know business owners who some weeks don't get paid at all. And people act like it's like landlords. People, oh, they're a slumlord. Well, were they a slumlord when you moved in, Mr. Smith? Yeah, they were a slumlord. Then why did you move in? Well, I'm a stupid ass. Okay, then. You're a stupid ass, and that's the slumlord's problem. And of course, they're not slumlords when they move in. No, that was a nice guy who wanted to rent me a house. But as soon as I get mad about one thing or another, you're a slumlord. Yeah, I'm sick of that. No, yeah, that's cannabis retailers. Yeah, I think they have as much right to the First Amendment as anyone else, including the people who want to unionize at the dispensary. And I can tell you, as soon as they unionize, the price of weed is going to go through the roof. It's just going to get astronomical. So that's a no. So let me see. I don't know how many of these measures we had. Did you say that was 5? Because I think that was the end of them there. Mr. Alien Drone Services. I could use that. I could have used that when I used to live next to the Sandia Labs. That's it. No, but there is 2 others. For local measures, and for here we've got the Measure 6217, the 5-year local option levy to help fund jail operations. Yeah, no, I'm not voting for any taxes. I know the county needs it. I know the county is in desperate straits, but there's a lot of businesses out there that are in desperate straits, and I don't care how minuscule of a tax it is. It's wafer thin, sir. It's just wafer thin. No, screw off. I don't want it. But it's wafer thin, sir. It's nothing. It's just a small amount. No, I don't want it. No, here, just eat a little. It's wafer thin to the point where you explode. For any of you who don't know that reference, that's the meaning of Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. It's just wafer thin, sir. It's a wafer thin tax. Well, I don't care how wafer thin it is. I got news for you. They're saying that they need this money to keep the second pod open. They don't need the second pod because thanks to the Oregon legislature, we have no cash bail and no one's being held anyway. I think the last time I checked, there were only 31 prisoners being held in the first pod, and that was it. So why would you need a second pod? And I know they're threatening that they'll probably lose some patrol officers out of the sheriff's office. Yep, that may happen. And most of the crime is happening in the city where the cities have a lot of police officers. And even if they happen and we give them the money, say this tax passes, say that people in Coos County decide to give the county commissioners the money in 6217. Do you think that that's going to change what's happening in the streets right now? Do you think they're going to be able to start just keeping people? Well, no, because they have no cash bail. And even the ones that are committing crimes where they can keep them in jail, well, if they don't get a public defender, which there are not a lot of public defenders now, and that's intentional, they've allowed the public defenders to literally wither away because they knew without them that criminals would be released. And we have a pro-crime legislature, Republicans included. Many of these Republicans, they talk a good game, but they don't talk with their votes. They just talk with their mealy mouth. So we have a problem, and the justice system has been sabotaged. Please don't say the justice system is broke. We're financially broke as a country, as a county, as a state. But our justice system is not broke. It's been sabotaged by the legislature, and for many different reasons. HB 3115 allows people to sleep on public property if the city doesn't provide a place for them to sleep. And that's a law. That's part of it. Many of the crimes have been devalued, lowered as far as the amount of time that you would serve for committing these crimes. Like I said, the no cash bail, everyone's allowed to go. Yeah, I'm not giving any money to the justice system. It's a sabotage system. And no matter how much money we give to our local officials, it's still going to be sabotaged. And I really appreciate Chris Castleman, who, I didn't agree for several of the reasons that he didn't want to vote for the last tax. And he's kept his mouth he's been completely silent. He's kept his mouth shut the whole time for this new tax that the county commissioners passed, so that the county commissioners don't blame Chris Castleman for the failure of this tax. And I believe this tax is going to fail. 60% of us told them to go pound sand the last time they put a tax on there. I'm willing to bet it's going to be just about that same amount of people are going to say, no, we're not going to vote for it. I'm not voting for this. And if Drew Farmer, he has a chance of winning. So do you want to give the commissioners that will have Drew Farmer on the commission, on the board, you really want to give them more money with Drew Farmer there? He'd put a pride flag in every building in every part of the county. I don't need that. He would make every single employee of the county and then some take DEI courses, which is a fortune. These things it's ridiculous. It costs a lot of money to indoctrinate someone. And that's what Drew Farmer is all about. He did it in the city of Coos Bay. And he's one of those who he wants to continue to enable these drug addicts. He speaks a good game, but when it comes down to his policies, He's just nothing more than Tara Johnson, but on the city council of Coos Bay. And so I don't want to give the county any more money if Drew Farmer has the potential of winning the county commissioner's race. I certainly don't want to give him any more money. And if they have to cut some of the sheriff's patrols at night, so be it. Well, you know what my advice is? Take the money that you were going to give to the county, take that money and go buy a really big ass gun with a lot of ammo and learn how to use it. That would be my advice. Or go buy a big German Shepherd. But don't give your money to the county because it's not going to change anything on the street. I didn't create this sabotage justice system. The commissioners didn't create this sabotaged justice system. It just was created by the legislature and the governor and the one-party system with the help of a bunch of douchebag Republicans, because you can't deny that there have been some Republicans who supported some of these laws that have sabotaged our justice system. So measure 6217. So the five statewide measures, they're all a no for me. Measure 6217, which is a county measure, that's a no for me too. No on taxes. No on taxes. Now, our county measure, which was 6219 for the wind turbines, well, that's not in the voters pamphlet. We didn't get it in time to have that measure put in the pamphlet. Fortunately, measure 8116, which is the wind turbine question from Curry County, well, they got it in time, which is ironic because they submitted it the same exact day as ours was submitted. But, different clerks, different excuses. And so measure 8116, that's in the ballot. And BOEM, it looks like to me here that this is the question: should the BOEM offshore floating wind turbine project stop? Should BOEM stop the wind turbine project? And that's a yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Should offshore floating wind turbine development along the Curry County, Oregon coast be stopped? And the answer is yes, it should be stopped. So 8116, if I was living in Curry, would be a hard yes. So that's 6 no's. 5 of the statewide measures, all of them are no. The one local measure here in Coos County would be a on taxes would be a no, and that is let's see, I don't get that measure number, but it's the one for the tax for the Coos County. That would be a no, and the wind turbine measure is a yes. So the only one I'm answering yes to is, should we stop the wind turbine? Should we oppose that? And that's a yes. It's a hard yes. I had no plans, no intentions of reading the pamphlet today, but I did for Alien Drone Services because he seemed like such a nice person. I thought, what the hell? I'll do that. Let's see. I got a couple of comments here. As the Oregon Constitution grows, we lose liberties instead of gain. Yeah, I saw that one. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is how they go around the people's back. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But here's the thing, Oregon Outlaw, is that they put these ballot measures on the ballot, and we, the voters, collectively, not you or I, because we'd probably vote against these measures, but collectively, we keep sending those laws and enacting those laws by our vote. So they don't really go around our back. We're just too damn stupid as a collective voting group. That's why collectivism never really works, because if most of the people in society are a bunch of dumbasses, then the collective decision is going to be a stupid decision because the majority of the people are dumbasses. And that's what you got in Oregon. In Oregon, you got a bunch of dumbasses. They're all registered to vote because they're from Multnomah County, and that's what they do. Some of the dead dumbasses are registered to vote. And because the majority of the voters in Oregon are dumbasses, that's why we've got stupid laws. And I'm just saying, the collective vote, which that is a collective right there, we all vote on the same day, the same time for the same measures. Well, if you got stupid people, you're going to get stupid results. That's why if you look in other states, that's why you see when people vote on it and they get good laws enacted, it's because the majority of the collective there, they're not idiots. Here in Oregon, it's obvious. There is a surmountable amount of evidence to show that the voters, well, the collective of voters here in Oregon are a bunch of dumbasses. I have no control over that, no authority over what the voters do ever. And so Oregon outlaw responds exactly, and now they want to punish landowners. Yes, they want to punish anyone who produces. They want to punish anyone who owns assets. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing to us. And so I don't know what we're going to be able to do about it. Boy, I was hoping Tim was going to be on today. The last time I talked to him, he was all excited about being on the show, but he gets very busy at this time of day. Maybe I need to do a recording with Tim before each week's show so that I can do a recording at a time when he can actually speak to the people. And then that way we won't miss him on the show, because I love when Tim from Tom and Gigs comes on here and rants for 5 minutes. It's a beautiful thing. He's quite the ranter. He's a superb ranter. There's a couple of stories that I thought we would cover, because it's one of those things that always, well, it just comes back to us here in Oregon, because this is something that is happening all over the place. And here, let me scroll this up. Police accused of acting hysterically, claiming Trump assassination plot. And this comes from the rally he had in Arizona. And let me read this to you. Police acted hysterically in arresting a man for allegedly trying to kill Donald Trump, a conservative activist has told Newsweek. And of course, this is from Newsweek. Let me scroll down here. Yeah, you can see at top left-hand corner, it says Newsweek there. That's my source for it. And Mindy Robinson, who says she is both a friend and business partner of suspect Vern Miller, and I've heard of Vern before, said that he is a Trump supporter and posed on that he is a Trump supporter imposed on a threat to anyone. And the fact he's out on 5,000 bail proves that they know he's not a threat. They're just mad they're about to have a lot of egg on their face for running with his as hysterically as they did. She added, Robinson is an actress and well-known figure in conservative circles, host her conspiracy truth show on America Happens, a new news site. Miller of Las Vegas was arrested on Saturday after firearms were found in his car outside a Trump rally in California, Coachella Valley. Authorities said he was taken into custody after deputies found a shotgun, a loaded handgun, and a high-capacity magazine in his car, according to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department press release. And of course, for any of you who don't know, a high-capacity magazine, that's just a regular magazine that idiots who don't know anything about guns call high capacity. I've got several regular magazines. They're normal magazines that I use for my AR. They hold about 30 rounds. They're not high capacity. That's just how they come. Yes, I could get larger capacities, but I could have smaller capacity. But why would you do that when you're out shooting and plinking? You're not going to want to continuously reload these magazines if they don't carry nothing but 5 bullets. You can go through 5 bullets in a second with an AR. So that's completely ridiculous. And so that's, once again, when you have people who are idiots and don't really understand anything about firearms. The arrests occurred at 4:59 p.m. at a checkpoint near Avenue 52 in Celebration Drive, about a half a mile from the rally entrance. Miller was driving a black SUV when he was stopped. He said after he was arrested that he is a partner with America Happens. And I'm not sure who that organization is, but the funny thing is that Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, a noted Trump supporter, said, we probably stopped another assassination attempt, according to Southern California News Group. Miller also booked at the John J. Bonet detention center in Indio, California, on charges of possession a loaded firearm and a high-capacity magazine, because those I believe are illegal in California, in that crazy state south of Oregon. Not that we're much better, but Miller was released Saturday on a $5,000 bond and is scheduled to appear in the Indio Larson Justice Center on January 2nd, 2025, according to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department inmate database. And the reason I'm saying that is because I know there's a lot of people out there thinking, well, what's the matter with these people? Why the hell? What the hell, man? They're just catching people in these traps that they're setting for conservatives. And no, the sheriff is a conservative. The sheriff is a conservative. And the guy, there are no such thing as illegal guns. Okay. You look at the Second Amendment, you read the Second Amendment, and according to that one amendment in the Bill of Rights, there really is no such thing as an illegal firearm. The only illegal firearm that exists is a firearm that has been stolen from somebody else. If you're in possession of a firearm that you have stolen from somebody else, that's an illegal firearm, because you shouldn't be stealing from other people and have a stolen merchandise in your possession. That's wrong. And that's the only time a firearm can be illegal. The rest of the time, I don't care how many laws they have. I don't care what the federal regulations, the state regulations. There's no such thing as an illegal firearm. According to the Second Amendment, prove me wrong. Show me where in the Second Amendment that states firearms are illegal if they fit this category. Oh, wait, nope, that's not there. That's not there in the Second Amendment. So and magazines, what does it matter if you have a 5-round magazine, a 30-round, a 100-round? I mean, if you're going to kill a bunch of people, you just grab a few more extra magazines than you would if it held 30 rounds. So you're going to grab 10 5-round magazines instead of 3 30-round magazines to go do your shooting if you're one of these crazy people who like to. And usually those people are, for some reason, usually they're leftists. Have you noticed that? Most of these people who commit assassinations, have you ever noticed they're of the leftist mindset? I don't know. I was trying to think back of any time when a conservative was arrested, a conservative or a libertarian or a constitutionalist was arrested because they were trying to commit an assassination. I don't remember that happening too many times. They're usually leftists. And so I think this guy is innocent, because I've heard of Vern Miller. I think I've actually seen his, either he has a podcast or he does videos, but I've heard of Vern Miller. Like he said, I've seen his work on Twitter. He may even be a friend on Twitter. I really don't know, but I don't think he was a Trump. He was trying to assassinate Trump. I think this is a misunderstanding, and we're going to find that out. And I think the fact that he was bailed out for $5,000 pretty much puts the whole assassination thing on the back burner now. But of course, the left, they're going to use that. They're going to say, see, even the MAGA people are so crazy, they want to kill Trump. That's right. Top MAGA leader. Yep, he's got a gun. He's got a gun, so that means he's going to commit violence. Yeah, every podcast that I do, I have several guns around me, and none of them have committed violence. I haven't seen my guns. I've got a few guns, a few rifles, few handguns, and I haven't seen any of them commit any violence. I don't know about you, but that's something I've noticed most of the time when I'm looking at the guns. I don't normally see them committing violence, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just just out there and don't know that my guns, when I go to sleep, they're out there at night causing gun violence in the city. I don't know. It's not my fault. I try to put them away the best I can, but I guess these guns are so clever that these inanimate objects are reanimated and are able to become beings that can go out there and kill others because the guns are committing violence. That's what the left wants you to believe. But I don't believe Vern Miller for 1 minute. Not for 1 minute that you just got to know Vern's stuff. I just don't think he's a someone who's committing assassination. And I know people go, well, he shouldn't have been there with a loaded gun. Well, maybe he was there because he thought he might be able to protect the president. Just because there's a gun doesn't mean there's a nefarious plot to assassinate anybody. So I don't think the sheriff's acting hysterically, because if he was, I don't know. I think he would. Vern would still be in jail if the sheriff was acting hysterically. It's probably going to come out in the next couple of days. The sheriff will make a statement and say, "Oh, this guy is not who we thought he was, and this is just being overblown." But I really don't think they're acting hysterical because they want to make sure and protect the president. The sheriff is a Republican. I truly believe his heart is in the right place, and I just think they made a mistake about Vern Miller. Get over it, guys. It's going to happen. I don't think we need to criticize either side. There are no illegal guns in my mind, and the sheriff, his job is to protect the president. And sometimes those things, well, they will collide with each other, and that's why you have to judge every case by its own merits. And this case will be judged by its own merits as well. There was another story, and this was hilarious because when I hear these stories in the news, I almost never believe any of this shit because all of these stories, they're just made up BS so that they can get more clicks. It's clickbait, and you don't want to be fooled by the clickbait. Oh, hey, alien drones. Before I go into the story, alien drones has got a Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco should resign in disgrace. You really think so? I don't know. If okay, let's say if Vern Miller, let's say if for some reason he did want to do harm to President Trump and he was able to do something with the weapons he had, and I should call them weapons, with the firearms they had, because they're not weapons until someone uses it as a weapon, because anything can be a weapon. So he had firearms. If he would have used those firearms to try to assassinate the president, we would be criticizing the sheriff. So I don't know. I think that the sheriff shouldn't really I don't think he should have to resign in disgrace, but it would be nice if he came out and said, whoops, my bad. I was just being extra protective because we know we got a president who's, they've tried to assassinate him 3 times. So my bad. We were just a little overzealous. And then Alien Drone makes another comment, says these guns were in the car. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco lied when he claimed Vern Miller was armed. And I don't know the particulars of the story, and that will all come out, and you may be right. And I still would say, well, if it's the case, the charges will be dropped, the fines will be dropped, and that's just what happens. Sometimes your right to carry firearms will collide with the sheriff's authority to keep a president safe. That's just going to happen. And I think he would have been criticized pretty much no matter what he'd done. But I'm not to the point where I think he should resign in disgrace. But I think he should come out and apologize. Not so much apologize, but say, whoops, we were wrong on this one. But better to be wrong and better to be safe than sorry, right? And I'm not giving any excuses to a sheriff who may have been lying. If it's proven he's lying, well, then we'll find that out as this goes down the line. Because, you hear a lot of this stuff, and I've read different articles, and the articles contradict themselves. So I don't know what's true and what's right. So if he does go to court, I'm sure it will all come out, or maybe the charges will be dropped. So I don't know. We'll see as this plays out and goes down the road. But on that same line, there was a rumor going around that there was an armed militia out there hunting down FEMA. Yes, in Rutherford County. That's right. In North Carolina, in Rutherford County, there was a bunch of militiamen out there, and they were threatening FEMA. They were going to hunt them down like animals and kill them all. And it was a lie. Now, this is a lie. This was a bunch of BS. And as soon as I read this story, all I could think to myself is, this is a bunch of BS. This is, once again, this is left-leaning media. I mean, commie media, yellow journalism, total yellow journalism. So yellow, it would brighten you. I mean, it would blind you if you saw it directly. It's Rutherford County man arrested for FEMA threats. Sheriff says no armed militia. So that whole armed militia thing was a bunch of BS. Asheville. Federal emergency response personnel working in Helene devastated areas of Rutherford County were subject to threats over the weekend, resulting in a halt to some aid operations over a potential armed militia and the arrest of an armed Forest City man, officials said. Just before 1 p.m. on October 12th, the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office received a call from U.S. Army soldiers at a gas station in Polk County after speaking with a gas station attendant, according to Captain Jamie Keever. The attendant had relayed a threat made by a customer toward FEMA employees helping in the Lake Lure and Chimney Rock area, and the sheriff's office was called to investigate. Yes, we're going to call the sheriffs and investigate. We heard someone say something, so we better have the sheriff investigate. The customer, identified as William Jacob Parsons, 44, had made a vague threat. Aren't they all in these types of stories? They're always that vague threat. Yes, I'm one of those. I'm not about vague threats. I'm like up in your face, very personal. If I'm going to make a threat, here's the threat. And it's not a threat because it's a guaranteed promise if I'm going to make those type of statements. And that was that vague threat that he was going to give or go mess up some FEMA personnel. So this William Jacob Parsons, he was going to mess up some FEMA personnel. That's right. You got some FEMA personnel, I'm going to mess them up. But Keeper told the Citizen Times October 14th Parsons was armed with an AR-style rifle and 2 handguns, according to the arrest warrant, which who cares? Who cares? I don't even care. Why is that even part of the story? They always had to bring up the gun. And once again, it's all a bunch of BS. It was all a bunch of BS that they're making up. This is the leftists trying to incite violence, because I guarantee you now there are probably BLM groups out there hunting down these white supremacist militia that's trying to kill FEMA, because when you're an anarchist, when you really want to protect the government, that's what they do. They're so confused. And so that was 2 stories I just had to talk about to demonstrate how just the slightest vague rumor, vague threats can turn into this huge story. How a guy who brings a loaded gun to a presidential rally can now end up with charges against him. And I certainly hope that those charges are dropped. We'll find out. Like I said, it takes time, and I don't want to assign blame to anyone here until I've got the whole story. But Alien Drone Services, he says another thing. Let's see. Well, why won't that stay on? There it goes. The guns were in the car. Riverside County Sheriff lied when he claimed Vern Miller was armed. Oh, I read that already. So thought that was a new comment there. So there you go. There's the story on Vern Miller and the other story on the North Carolina armed militia hunting down FEMA. And I could understand why someone might want to hunt down FEMA. They're a bunch of jackasses. What can I tell you? Maybe there's something to that story. I do have to change subjects now that, well, I'm feeling lucky, I guess. I do have to change the subjects a little bit, because I know that there are a lot of people out there and who are telling those of us who are fighting against these wind turbines that the project has been stopped. The governor has stopped this project. I got news for you. If anyone tells you the governor stopped the wind turbine project, they're not the brightest people in the box, okay? If you got a box of bulbs and you got a bulb telling you that the governor stopped this project, this wind turbine project, that's not the bright bulb in the box. You can leave that bulb right there. It's a dull, dim lit bulb. It's not one of the bright bulbs. You want a bright bulb, and anyone who tells you that story is not one of the bright bulbs. So the governor didn't do anything to stop the wind turbines. As I've been telling you all along, all that has happened is that BOEM has postponed the auction because 4 of the 5 bidders have pulled out of the auction. But the timeline for the wind turbine project is still in place. The timeline is still in place, and the governor has not stopped anything. And in fact, the governor, Ron Wyden, Merkley, all of them, none of them have come out and said Absolutely, they're opposed to this project. No, all they're saying is that they want to hear more concerns. They want to see more studies done. They want to practice CYA, cover your ass. That's what they're practicing. The governor's practicing it, and our U.S. senators and U.S. representatives are practicing this. They're trying to cover their ass because in reality, the Democrats want these wind turbines. Why? Because it makes a lot of money for a lot of their constituents. A lot of the unions will make a lot of money off these projects. A lot of the corporations, which are the green weenie corporations, they give a lot of money to the Democrats. They give a lot of money to the Republicans. Even David Brock Smith and Court Boyce got money from a wind turbine company. Yep, go look it up. I know they'll say it's dismiss or whatever misinformation it is, but it's true. I got this from the Secretary of State's website. You can go look it up. Go look at who contributed to David Brock Smith and look who contributed to Court Boyce. And it's a PAC that's been paid for by the guy who owns the last company in the auction. 5 bidders, 4 bidders have pulled out, and the only remaining bidder has a PAC here in Oregon where he's given money not only to the Democrats, but to Republicans like Court Boyce and David Brock Smith. I know there are people out there they're looking at the screen and they're saying, Rob, you're a liar. You just hate those two. No, I'm not making this up. I proved it beyond a reasonable doubt just a couple of weeks ago when I went through the sequence of looking it up on the Secretary of State's website. I don't make up this information. I'm not even that creative. Really, I'm not. And so finding this out and finding out that there are so many people out there who think that this wind project is stopped, we've got to keep the battle up. We got to keep the pressure on. We got to let people know that it has not stopped. And in fact, in California, this is a very interesting story because this is going to have an effect on the wind turbine projects here in Oregon. The Governor Newsom, gruesome as I called him, Governor Newsom signs a bill expediting Pier Wind project in Long Beach. After completion, Pier Wind will be the largest facility of its kind in the U.S. and would help California meet renewable energy goals. And of course, I can tell you that's probably a lie. That's a lie. That's a bunch of BS. They're never going to meet all of those renewable energy goals. First off, they're supposed to have 3 gigawatts coming off of the Oregon Ocean by 2030. And I don't think that project is going to happen because I don't think the wind turbine project is going to happen. So they set these goals. They set themselves up for failure, but they don't care that they set themselves up for failure. Why? Because they know that most voters, not only are they dumbasses, but they have short-term memory. And because they have short-term memory, they're not going to remember that the governor and the legislature set goals way back when. But this Governor Gavin Newsom, or as I like to call him, Gruesome, approved a bill Monday that would allow the Port of Long Beach to speed up the process of creating a 400-acre terminal of floating offshore wind turbines. Boy, it sounds incredibly stupid to me, but the Assembly Bill 2234, authored by Assembly member Josh Lowenthal, will reduce the costs and accelerate the time to complete the proposed Pier Wind project. After completion, Pier Wind will be the largest facility of its kind in the U.S. and would help California meet its goals for renewable energy sources. Pier Wind will help the state meet climate goals, create jobs and economic opportunities for local communities, and establish a new green energy industry along the West Coast, said Port of Long Beach CEO Mario Cordero. And of course, you notice that everyone who is for these wind turbines are making money off the project. Have you noticed that? I've noticed that. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just completely freaking crazy. I don't know. I just read this stuff. I see it. It's in print. It's in an article. And I just report it. Do I know if it's true? I have no freaking idea. Why? Because they all lie. The politicians lie. The reporters lie. But I have to believe that Gruesome actually signed this bill for the Pier Wind project, the wind turbine project. In addition to creating new energy jobs in Southern California, Pier Wind would enable other sectors of the supply chain to create jobs as well as support offshore wind projects. Pure wind would allow for the staging and assembly of some of the world's largest offshore wind turbines, standing as tall as the Eiffel Tower. The fully assembled turbines would be towed by sea from the port of Long Beach to wind lease areas along the central and northern coast. And offshore wind is a key component of California's clean energy future, Assemblyman Lowenthal said. The Pure Wind project is an important extension of the smart growth efforts at our ports and will dramatically increase good-paying jobs, improve air quality, and mitigate negative impacts to the surrounding Long Beach communities. Now, get this, extensive environmental review is underway, conducted by local, state, and federal regulatory agencies as the port gathers community input. If approved, construction of the 4.7 billion, that's billion with a B, the 4.7 billion project could start as early as 2027 and could be completed or would be completed in 2035. I'm willing to bet they don't even get it off the ground in the next couple of years because they just take the money and they never seem to provide the project. They're like the Rainmaker. I don't know if you ever saw that movie with the old Burt Lancaster there. I forget who was the female. Was that Shirley Jones? I forget who the female was in that movie, but you got to check it out. Maybe it was Natalie. Was it Natalie Wood? I don't know. The Rainmaker. We're gonna make it rain on up in here. Yeah, he's a con man going around convincing people he can make it rain, and that's the government today. The government is nothing but the con man who's promising you all these goods, but they're not going to deliver those goods. They're good at making promises, following through on those promises. Yeah, not so much. But we will keep an eye on that, and we will see how that will go. It's just. I don't know. It just sounds like it's more BS coming from the federal government, coming from BOEM, and when their governor gets involved to push this, Governor Gruesome, it really makes you worried. I'm surprised our governor got involved because of the fact that she is totally for this project. She supports this project. The Democrats in the legislature support this project. Court Boyce and David Brock Smith, two Republicans, at one time, both of them supported this project. Now they claim something else. I don't know if it's true or not because, well, politicians lie. But these people, the agencies that are conducting the environmental impact studies are for the project. So you got people who already have a bias in favor of the project doing the environmental impact study on the project. Do you think you're going to get something that's fair and balanced? I know you're not. It's going to be a big black turd that they're going to sit right there on a desk and try to say, hey, look how shiny that shit is. Woo, we polished it up good. And it will give you the old expression, you can polish a turd, but no matter how much you polish it, you still got shit. And that's what they're going to bring you from BOEM. It's going to be another bureaucratic nightmare when that happens. And what's up with that? I don't know if you ever go to this website. This is a really good website to talk about all the weird projects that the Green Weenies are doing. It's called whatsupwiththat.com, whatsupwiththat.com. And Watts is spelled like an electrical Watts, W-A-T-T-S, not W-H-A-T-S. And what's up with that? And they talk about offshore wind's bogus benefits bragged on. And this is by David Wojcik. David Wojcik, I have interviewed this gentleman. He is he's got his doctorate in biology and several other degrees. He used to work for the government, the federal government, and I forget what his position was. But this is a guy who already knows how the system works from the inside out. This is David Wojcik, the author of this article. And offshore's wins bogus benefits bragged on, but they're bogus. They always talk about the benefits. And as we know, I just told you, they're great at making promises. They're just not so good at fulfilling those promises. Government fails everywhere it gets a chance to fail. And so offshore wind's bogus benefits, I'll read this to you. Resources for the Future has produced a combined cost benefit analysis for 32 U.S. offshore wind projects now in development. They proudly point to the benefits outweighing the cost by a whopping 14 times. But these supposed benefits are not just exaggerated, they are fabricated. They simply do not exist. And this is once again by David Wojcik, the guy who wrote this. He's a guy who's been in government for a long time. And so he knows how to cipher through the bullshit so he can get the real analytical data out in the forefront so the people can see it for themselves. But he continues, their lengthy title is Offshore Wind Power Examined, Effects, Benefits, and Cost of Offshore Wind Farms along the U.S. Atlantic and Gulf Coast. And then he gives a link to where you can see basically this study that they put out there. Excuse me, I needed a drink. And it's just tea, folks. No alcohol today. The analysis is fairly simple, which makes it easy to see the fallacies. They are just 4 basic benefit claims, and of course, it is based on a highly questionable modeling. Before looking at each of these benefit claims, it is worth noting a pervasive misconception. They assume that when megawatts of wind displaces a megawatt of coal or gas-fired power, the emissions of the latter are reduced by the amount it takes to produce the megawatts per hour. And as I have written at length, this is not true. And of course, when he says I, he's talking about himself. This is David Wojcik. Base load fossil fueled power plants run on very high pressure steam produced by gigantic boilers. These plants have to be ready to produce power while wind and solar run intermittently, meaning that they do not work all the time. But the coal plants, they're working every day, all week long. They are typically running while their output is temporarily displaced by offshore wind. The reduction in emissions is relatively quite small compared to the power displacement. Each of the RFF benefit quantities is based on a mistaken displacement assumption. Thus, each would be much smaller than they estimate if it were real, but as we shall now see, they are not real. And then he goes into this article about how wind cannot replace coal because it is intermittent. And I'll also give you something else that wind has a problem with. Unlike oil, and I know this article is about coal, but unlike oil or petroleum products can be saved and stored. If you were to store wind turbine energy or the energy produced by solar panels, you have to store these in batteries, and then that storage of energy is then transmitted to wherever they want to take it. But that storage, once you put it into storage, the energy, you lose that energy. It doesn't just stay in the batteries. You constantly are losing that energy, and they have to continuously charge the batteries, and it's not sitting there as if it was stored away for gas or oil. Gas or oil you can put away. They've got oil resources all over the country where if we needed oil, they could get to the oil to make the gas that runs our country, runs our businesses, runs our cars, our automobiles, all the things that we need to run modern day life. Well, offshore, and you can depend on that because you put it in storage and it doesn't go away. If you store it on batteries, it actually runs down. It loses energy. Batteries aren't known for always holding their charge, and that's one of the big problems. And on top of it, petroleum especially is used for millions, I would say millions of different products. You just look around you, look at all of the stuff that's around you, surrounding you right now, including the screen you're looking at, and all of it has to have a huge amount of petroleum products used to create those items. Whatever you're looking at, whatever you see around your room, most everything, the phone, look how much plastic is in that phone. So petroleum not only creates the energy, but it makes a lot of other products. What other products does wind and solar make? I mean, it makes a lot of trash. You got those solar panels, you got those wind turbine blades, which they're having problems now getting rid of. I forget where, somewhere they just, farmers are complaining. I believe it was in Idaho that the wind energy businesses are not coming in to clean up their blades for their wind turbines. They're blowing up, they're catching on fire, and they're shooting all over the farmer's property. And then the farmer can't get the wind energy company to come in and take these blades out. And the blades, they're not recyclable by any stretch of the imaginations. They have to be buried somewhere in some landfill. So this is not renewable energy, and it doesn't produce any other product. Petroleum produces pretty much everything I'm looking at. Pretty much everything. The paint on the wall, the light fixture, everything has some form of petroleum product in it. And so this is the big fallacy of the wind turbines. They're saying that we're going to create all this energy, and that's going to minimize the amount of energy we use from coal and gas and whatever else actually makes electricity, when that is not true, because we have to rely on those sources because they're reliable, and the renewable sources are not reliable. Renewable, unreliable. So just remember that. And I got news for you. Petroleum is renewable. People think that we're running out of oil and gas, and that's not true as well. The earth itself produces that stuff. So I don't know. I don't want to get off on a kick on that, but we're just not going to have a reliable source of energy if we just depend on these wind turbines. And we have to pay for these through all kinds of subsidies, huge amount of subsidies. We've got to pay for the cleanup. The businesses have no liability, and if they do lose money, we got to pay for that too. I don't know if you knew that was in the contract. One hell of a great contract they have with these turbine companies. Let's see. Alien Drone Services says, wind turbines also spray microplastic pollution continuously. It comes off of the plastic blades. Now, that I totally believe. And if you're in the ocean, that's going to be worse because of the caustic salt air that we have in the ocean. So you got the weather. First, you got the water. That's some of the most volatile waters anywhere right off the shores of Oregon and Washington and California. Very volatile weather up here in the Northwest. Very volatile. You've got the ocean itself. You got the rain and the windstorms. Because even if you have wind, you have to have what we call the Cinderella wind, because if it's too low, you're not going to produce any energy. And if it's too fast, you're going to overload the energy that's being produced. So you have to have the Cinderella story kind of wind that's coming through just for these wind turbines to work. So if you have wind that's too fast, eventually they're going to wear down because of that. And they create their own wakes. On top of that, they create their own wakes, which pushes the larvae further out to areas where the larvae doesn't normally go, which will affect the fishing, the quality of fish, the amount of fish that's able to reproduce next to these wind turbines, especially fish that are in those areas. So yeah, I totally believe that the wind turbines, they're the microplastic pollution continuously. I can believe that because they got to make something of these wind turbines, and you got to cover them with a lot of petroleum products, a lot of the plastic petroleum products, so that they can withstand the environment of being in the middle of the water in the Northwest. It's just absolutely ludicrous. And so we are going to, we just had our last rally in Gold Beach and in Brookings for me and Diane. I think they're going to have one down there on the 26th. And we were supposed to do a Trump train on the 26th, but I'm going to have to move that because I've got something coming up. And if someone else wants to do it, you're more than welcome. But I'm not going to be organizing a Trump train coming up in the 26th. I think we're going to set that back to November 2nd, which I think is actually better because that's the Saturday before the election, November 5th. And I think it's going to be a damn good day to do that. I think people are going to be very excited for being able to do that. And I think people are going to be able to have a little bit more enthusiasm for getting out there, getting their car decorated and driving around. And I also changed the route. I think I was talking the last time I was on here, I was talking about when we do the next Trump Train 2, that we were going to go to the downtown areas of Coquille and Bandon. But after creating the map, I realized, damn, that's like 3 hours in the vehicle. And I don't want to make people pay for all that gas. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do what I call the Charleston Loop, where we start off by the Coos Bay Boardwalk. We go through downtown North Bend. We go through Empire, and then we go from Empire over to Charleston. We do the loop around the marina there, and then we head back through Libby, coming through Libby, and make that route that way, where we go completely around. And of course, we'll maze through downtown Coos Bay. We'll maze through downtown North Bend and probably hit the mall and the Walmart, because we always love going through those parking lots and annoying all those liberals in the shopping stores. That's always fun. But that's what we're going to do. And I think we're going to do that November 2nd, because the 26th just seemed to be a bad date for several of us, and it gives me more time to plan. So we should have that. You should be getting your ballots by, I think, next week or so. Those ballots should be coming out. Usually it's a couple of weeks after you get the voters pamphlet. And so I guess now that I've gone through the measures, I don't know if I'm going to do the measures again, but we'll see. We'll see. I did have one story that I wanted to talk about, because I think it's very important. I think it's something that's deeply affecting many of us here in Oregon, and it's something that we got to keep an eye on, and that is how the federal government takes care of the federal lands. There's a sharp divide in Oregon over a bill to step up logging to prevent wildfires. And you wouldn't think there would be a sharp divide, but there are people who just want the forest to burn. And the Republicans in the U.S. legislature are backing a proposal to scale back environmental regulations to thin forest, while Democrats and environmentalists want to fund community preparedness. Now, why would you have to fund community preparedness if you got rid of the threat to the community in the first place? What is the threat? Well, the threat is from the fires that are caused by the mismanagement of our forest. So if they didn't mismanage our forests, we wouldn't need the money for the threat. See, this is the Democrats. They want to treat the symptoms. They don't want to cure the problem, because curing the problem, well, it doesn't always look nice. We're going to have to do a few of those clear cuts through the forest, which is an absolute necessity to stop some of these huge fires. We're going to have to thin out the forest. That's another necessity. And you can do all of that and still have environmental concerns met. I mean, this is something that I don't know why environmentalists think that you can't have logging and thinning in the forest and have that simultaneously going on while you're doing environmental research, while you're trying to save certain species. All of this can be done at the same time. Recreational needs, cultural needs, all of that can be done if you come up with the right plan. They have the Giese plan that would work great for the Elliott Forest, but of course they don't want to do that plan because, well, they might actually have to cut some damn trees, and I don't know what it is about this state. We don't want to cut any trees in this state. We got a lot of them, and I don't know why. They don't want to cut down a few of these trees, make a little bit of money for the communities, and especially the cities and the counties, and protect people from having their property burnt up. But as you can see by this article, the sharp divide really is between crazy radical leftists who want the forest to burn and Republicans who want people to live in a safer area. But still, Republicans in the U.S. House, including Oregon's 2 Republican representatives, are hoping Congress will pass a bill before year's end that would tackle increasingly large wildfires in the West by scaling back environmental regulations to make it easier to log and cut vegetation in federal forests, which account for more than 60% of the forest in Oregon. That's a huge number. 60% of the forest, allowing them to scale back regulations and allowing them quicker times to do this, turnaround times. That would be the best thing to happen. This is a great idea. This is a bill that was proposed by Arkansas Republican Representative Bruce Westerman of California, Democrat, Republican Scott Peters, the Fix Our Forest Act. So this is bipartisan. You got a Democrat and a Republican who've come to their senses, decided to work together. And it passed the U.S. House on September 24th with 268 representatives in favor and 151 morons opposed, including Oregon's 4 Democratic representatives. That's because those 4 Democrat Oregon representatives are part of the moron group. But it is expected to get a vote in the U.S. Senate after the November general election, according to Hank Stern, a spokesperson for Oregon's U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat. And I don't know how Ron Wyden is going to vote on this, but we need this bill so that not only do we have safer places to live in for cities and counties and individuals who live in these unmanaged areas, especially these federal areas, but the cities and the counties could really use the resources, the timber money that they get from cutting down all of these trees and thinning out a lot of the forest. I don't know if they make too much money off the thinning out, but I do know they make a lot of money off the logging. But proponents say the bill would restore forest health, increase resiliency to catastrophic fires, and protect communities by expediting environmental analysis while reducing frivolous lawsuits and step up restoration projects. But opponents, including environmentalists and Democrats, which I'm just being redundant there, say it would open millions of acres of federal land to logging without scientific review or community input, potentially increasing the risk of wildfires while rolling back regulations to protect endangered or threatened species. And of course, that's any species that they deem are threatened. It's kind of like the spotted owl. They would create species. I'm surprised that they don't have unicorn protection laws here in Oregon. Oh, we can't kill the unicorns. Well, I've never seen a unicorn. Oh, yes, they're out there in the forest and we got to protect them. We got to let the forest burn because that's how the unicorns live, and burned forests. And we got to protect those unicorns. So you can't cut any of those trees. You can't even harvest the logs after they've been burned down because that's what the unicorns use to sit on and rest on. We got to protect the unicorns. And that's literally what environmentalism in Oregon is all about, protecting the unicorns. Yeah, I don't believe in unicorns. I hope you don't either. Not any more than I believe in Bigfoot. But once again, don't tell the environmentalists, because they would create laws protecting the Bigfoot as well. We got to protect the Bigfoot. We can't cut down any trees. It's the Bigfoot. That's what it's all about. So it's nuts the way we're leading in this country. It's just, I don't know, the sharp divide. The only real divide there is people who have common sense and people who don't. That's the divide, because like I said, you can do clear cuts, you can cut down trees and still preserve the environmental quality of any forested area. And you see that here in Coos County. There are spots where the county has just clear cut a huge swath of land, and they've been doing that the last couple of years. If you go back to where they started this over about 5 years ago, and you go to those lots that are now 5 years old, the trees are about 3 feet tall. And if you go back in another 5 years, those trees will be about 10 feet tall. And you go back in another 5 years, they'll be 15, 18 foot tall. And then within 40 years, you're going to be able to harvest those trees that grew out of the clear cut that the county just did. So I hear people all the time complaining about the county. Oh, they're clear cut. They're cutting down all our trees. And I just look at them and go, thank God they're cutting down a few of those trees. I need a area that's not going to be burning, a burn break. We need those burn breaks, and it only makes common sense. And if you're against common sense, well, then I don't know. You're just not a friend of society. What can I tell you? You got to get a life. So those are just some of the stories I wanted to cover this week. I don't know what to tell you. I was supposed to have a candidate on. I don't know what happened to him. I didn't even get a message. I haven't. Let's see. I don't think I even got it. Nope. No emails. Yep. Nope. So I don't know what to tell you. It's a sad situation. And I know this, I won't be voting for Daniel Bahlen. That's sad because I wanted to give him a chance to come on the show and convince me that he's the better candidate for the job in Congressional District 4, but he can't even keep a schedule. So I'm not voting for him. So I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to do in Congressional District 4. I may just end up voting for Monique DeSpain. She doesn't really have a voting record. So, I may just vote for her. I am voting for Bob Maine, and I've had problems with him. So I think he has an actual record that I can sit there and give you qualitative answers on why I'm not voting for him. For Monique DeSpain, it's just some of her actions. And I don't know if her actions will actually translate to bad votes or good votes because she just doesn't have that record yet. So I'm going to wait until, we get closer to the election, and I'm probably going to be voting for Monique DeSpain, but I'm sure as hell not going to be voting for this Libertarian candidate who just stood me up on my show. That just ticks me off. And he stood you people up too. You should be pissed off too. I mean, you guys could have seen the Libertarian candidate and got a decision for yourself whether you wanted to support him or not, and it would have gave you another choice. Now, there's no choice here. I'm not going to vote for somebody who can't even keep a schedule. So too bad, so sad for him, and on to bigger and better things. And before I get out of here, I've got to pay bills, and there's a lot of bills. Well, let me remind you real quick, just one more time. If you live in Coos County, please vote yes on Measure 6219. Vote yes to stop the wind turbines. And if you live in Curry County, please vote yes on Measure 8116. Vote yes to stop the wind turbines. And if you want to find out more, at the bottom of that sign right there is www.oawt.org, and OAWT stands for Oregonians Against Wind Turbines. And so I wanted to remind all of you of that. They're going to be having a rally on the 26th in Curry County. They're going to have it at Gold Beach and Brookings, just like we normally did. We're not going to probably be there. Like I said, I had something come up and I got to take care of business. And that's what I'm going to be doing. But tomorrow they're having a BOC meeting. And I would recommend that if you want to find out what's happening in your county, Coos County in this case, you go to your county commissioners meeting. And ours is held at the Owens Building, and you can go there at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, October 15th, right there in Coquille, Oregon, 201 North Adams Street in Coquille, Oregon. 9:30 tomorrow, and find out what's going on in your county. I think it's a great idea. It's tomorrow, Tuesday, and if you live in Coos Bay, tomorrow night they're having the regular Coos Bay City Council meeting, and that's in the City Hall building, 500 Central Avenue in Coos Bay, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So you can actually hit the county meeting and then hit the Coos Bay City Council meeting. I've had to do that. There's been times when I've had to do that myself, so I completely understand. And you see those flags in front of the Coos Bay City Hall? Yeah, if Drew Farmer had his way, and I stopped him, but if he had his way, he would put a pride flag on all 4 of those flagpoles right there. And luckily, a lot of us patriots went down there and stopped that policy. And that's why I'm not voting for Drew Farmer, because of that crap. I don't really, if you want to hang something other than the official government flags on the government flagpoles, well, then we all get to decide what flags we want you to hang as well, which means there are going to be some communists who want the communist flag hung. There are going to be some devil worshipers who wants the devil worshiping flag hung. And of course, I'm going to want the nice good old Gadsden flag. And of course, there's going to be Christians who want the Christian flag. We tried that. They said that was too offensive, even though the Christian flag has a much longer history than the pride flag. And the Gadsden flag was the first flag used by the U.S. military during the Revolution War. So I don't know where Drew Farmer gets off on wanting to have the pride flag, but the rest of us, well, we should, just, I don't know, pound sand. Yeah, thanks, Drew Farmer. Screw you. You lose my vote. Let's see. This was a good meme that was going around. This is about the hurricanes in North Carolina in the south there. It says, remember this next month. Remember this in November. Remember in November, the money for you They gave it to all the foreigners. That's right. That's Kamala Harris standing there looking at the disaster that happened. And of course, they spent all the money on a bunch of illegal invaders of this country. They got them registered to vote. They gave them free health care. They gave them free education. They gave them housing. They fed these people who illegally came into this country. They laughed at us Americans. They laugh at us as Americans as they come across our border illegally, and they take all of the goods that the Democrats want to give them, the communists, because of course they got to divide this country as much as they can, and the best way to divide it is to bring people in to America who don't really give a damn about our laws. They could care less, because the first act they commit is to violate our immigration laws. They come here illegally, and that's not right. And it's even worse when Kamala Harris, instead of spending FEMA dollars on the good people of North Carolina and the other states who were hit by the hurricane, no, they spent it on the foreigners. They call them foreigners. No, they're illegal invaders. As far as I'm concerned, we should shoot trespassers in this country. That's just an idea I'm working on. I think you all might want to hear about it sometime. Shooting trespassers. It's a great thing, and I think we should go back to that. It would be. I know people are going, Rob, you're crazy. Or would you devalue somebody's life to any piece of property? And the answer is yeah. And I'm not the one devaluing their life. Anyone who steals something, they've devalued their life. When you steal something, you take the risk of getting killed just by the act of stealing, because there are people out there who don't want to be stolen from. We work very hard for our possessions. We work very hard for our vehicles, for the property we own, any item that's in that property. We work very hard for it. And if you want to devalue the worth of your life, try stealing from someone like me. I'm not going to enjoy it. And I think trespassers, I think they should be shot. And I know that's a cruel thing to say, but that's where I'm at in society. We've got a sabotage justice system that's not working. It's not going to get any better. And we better take a stand here in America. And if we got to stand up and draw a hard line against people who are destroying everything we work for, so be it. I didn't make that choice. The people who are stealing made that choice, starting with the politicians who allow it to occur, who are also stealing from us, going all the way down to the street derelict who keeps taking all of our stuff. It's ridiculous, and it's got to stop. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. And that would solve the illegal alien problem as well. But I don't know, maybe I'm off there. So before I get out of here, I got to remind you all, I am sponsored. I'm sponsored by a couple of really great businesses. 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. If you have some trees that you need to have taken down, they do micro logging. I haven't talked to Matt yet. I'm still trying to figure out micro logging. Are they talking about a small area or small trees? Are these like really little trees? That they cut down, is that what they're talking about, micro trees, or are they talking a smaller area where they cut down big trees, or just in a smaller area? I don't know. I'm going to have to find out what micro logging is, but they do it. 3H Tree Service. If you need some micro logging done, they can take care of that. 3H Tree Service at 541-294-1800. They got a business license. You can see it right there at the bottom right hand of that picture. They are licensed, they are bonded, they are great people. They'll take care of your job, and they clean up real well after themselves. Yes, you might see them make a big mess, but they'll clean up that big mess. So 3H Tree Service, give them a call. Matt Holman can take care of you. If you have any automotive needs, go see Tim at Tom and Gigs. Tim at Tom and Gigs, he's been a big supporter of my show for a long time. They're good people, great business. I always tell people, I get asked all the time, hey, Rob, you know any good mechanics? You know any good auto shops? Yeah, Tom and Gigs. Give them a call, 541-888-4660. Tom and Gigs can take care of most of your automotive needs. You need an alignment, they can take care of that. You need a new muffler, they can take care of that. What can I tell you? They do great work over at Tom and Gigs, and you can get an RC car, one of those nice little remote control cars. They got Tannerite, they got t-shirts. They've got a lot of different accessories for your vehicle, and I highly recommend you go check them out. They're behind the car wash in Empire at 135 South Shoneman Street. That's 135 South Shoneman Street. And you can give them a call at Tommy Giggs, 541 888 4660. And of course, I was talking about dispensaries earlier in the show. Herbal Choices, great sponsor of mine, Herbal Choices, for all your cannabis needs, for all your cannabis choices. You have a lot to choose from. You've got the Herbal Choice store in Bandon that you could choose if it's south of Bandon. Beautiful store there. You got the store in Coos Bay, the store in North Bend, the store in Reedsport, and of course, you got the store in Charleston. So you've got a lot of choices for your Herbal Choices, and Herbal Choices is the best dispensary to do that at. And I highly recommend them. Great people. Always get service with a smile, well-lit building. They make you feel comfortable when you're in there. They know if you got any questions about your herbal usage, Herbal Choices, the dispensers there, they can help you with any of information on cannabis. They're very well informed. And of course, one of my longest sponsors here, Oregon Firearms Federation. Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no compromise Oregon gun group here in the state. Don't believe any of the other gun groups. Oregon Firearms is the only legitimate, for real, up front firearm group. The OregonFirearms.org is where you need to go if you want to find out more about Oregon Firearms and how they are fighting on every level in the legislature and in your county commissions, in your city councils, and of course, spending a lot of money in court to fight for your Second Amendment rights. Oregon Firearms Federation, OregonFirearms.org. They're not my sponsors, but I got to mention Bandon Gun Club because I think everyone who's going to own a gun should be proficient in that. And I believe that so much that I'm promoting a business or a group that does not sponsor me. I don't get anything out of that. I pay for my membership as well. I don't get any benefits of this Bandon Gun Club. Well, I should take that back. They did give me my membership free this last year for doing all those commercials for them, but that's okay. I don't expect them to do that every year, and I'm still going to continue to promote Bandon Gun Club, because if you live in Bandon or the surrounding area, it's a great place to go to practice with your pistol or your shotgun. They got a five-stand trap shoot that you can go out there with your shotgun, and those traps go shooting out from all different areas. And it's beautiful. You get to sit there and blast away with your shotgun. And you can find out more at bandongunclub.org. And if you want to sight in your rifle, Taiga Sports Park has a 100-yard rifle range. You can find out more at taigasportspark.org. That's taigasportspark.org. And check them out before you go out there, because they may not be open. It's based on volunteers, and they may not have some volunteers volunteering that week. And you don't want to go out there, or you can't go out there unless there is someone out there who is supervising the whole thing. And it's a beautiful thing out there. They don't get into your business or anything. They pretty much leave you alone. They just, have to turn on the light when the range is active and turn off the light and give the signal when you go down and change your targets. There's a regiment to it. And they got to kind of give you an idea of what that regiment is so you don't screw up when you're down at the Tioga Sports Park. And it's a wonderful thing. So go check them out, tiogasportspark.org. It's a really good group of people. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Once again, I don't know what happened to that candidate. He just lost the vote. He probably lost your vote. If you were considering voting for the Libertarian candidate and you wanted to see him on the show today, I bet you were highly disappointed. I know I am. And, too bad, so sad for him, not me. I continue on. You'll continue on. We're going to be stronger than ever. And I hope you tune in. The next couple of weeks, I will be going through the pamphlets on which candidates I'm going to be voting for and why. I will be talking about the measures again. Like I said, the 5 statewide measures, all of them are a no. Measure 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, no for me. No on all of them. So that's an easy one. The local measures are not so easy. And once again, I'll cover that later on when it gets closer to the election. And I hope you all tune in. It should be very interesting. Let's see. Did I have any guests scheduled for Monday? I know. I'm going to be playing an interview with Dr. Frank. We hear so much about what he does as far as pulling up all that information and putting that data together to show how the algorithms are affecting our voter rolls. That's great. But we never actually hear about who he is and what he has done up to this point. And that's kind of the interview I do with him. We get a lot of different news with about him and what's going on. And I hope to have a couple of candidates on the show. Candidates would be nice to have on here to find out why we should vote for him. Why? And that's usually the question I ask him. Why the hell should I vote for you? I mean, make me a believer. If you can make me a believer, I'm all in. So we'll see that. That's all coming up. Hang in there. We'll be doing the Friday night rant this Friday, and we'll be doing the Monday show. I hope you can tune in. And until then, carry on, Coos County. Carry on.